Her phone vibrated while her key was still in the lock. Elena Moore froze in the dim hallway, heart slamming once, hard, like her body already knew this moment was wrong. The screen lit her face in pale blue. A reply. Immediate. Stay inside. Do not open the door. Her breath caught. She stared at the sender name and felt the blood drain from her hands. KM. That wasn't who she meant to text. Besties, before we continue, let me ask you a question. Have you subscribed to our channel? If not, please do so, to help this channel build a strong community, and tell us where you are watching from in the comment section. Elena's fingers trembled as she reread the message she had sent less than 10 seconds earlier. It was still on the screen, ugly and exposed. I can't do this anymore. I helped him, and now I feel like something's wrong. I'm scared. She had meant to send it to her sister back in Louisiana. A tired vent. Nothing more. Instead, it had gone to a number she hadn't touched in 6 months. A number she had saved under a name she never used. A number she had been told to use only if her life was in danger. Her door handle felt cold under her palm. The hallway light flickered once. The building was quiet. Too quiet for a city that never really slept. Another message came through. You are being watched. Put the phone down. Lock the door. Her chest tightened. That's not possible, she whispered, though no one was there to hear it. Elena slipped inside her apartment and locked the door, fingers clumsy with panic. She leaned back against the wood, the smell of antiseptic still clinging to her clothes from the ER. 12 hours on her feet. 2 codes. 1 death. Her body felt hollowed out, like something essential had been scooped from her. Her phone buzzed again. How long ago did you leave work? She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her eyes drifted to the living room window. The blinds were half open. Beyond them, the streetlights cast long yellow shadows across the parking lot. She had lived in this building for 3 years. 3rd floor, corner unit. She knew every sound it made. Right now, it was silent. Her phone vibrated again. Elena. Her name. Her throat went dry. She typed back before she could stop herself. How do you know where I live? The reply came instantly, like he'd been waiting. You told me 6 months ago. Gas station on Route 9. Her knees weakened. She slid down until she was sitting on the floor, back against the door, heart racing. 6 months ago. She hadn't thought about that night in weeks. She tried not to. She had been driving home from another overnight shift, rain hammering the windshield so hard the road blurred into silver streaks. She'd stopped for gas, half asleep, when she heard someone coughing behind the building. Not a normal cough. Wet. Ragged. Desperate. Her nurse instincts kicked in before fear could. She followed the sound. The boy couldn't have been more than 20. He was slumped against the concrete wall, one hand pressed to his side, blood soaking through his hoodie. His breathing was shallow, eyes glassy with shock. The wound looked like a gunshot. Clumsy, rushed, meant to kill but badly placed. Elena, she whispered to herself, already pulling off her jacket. Okay, stay with me. She pressed her hands against the wound, applying pressure the way she'd done 100 times before. The boy kept trying to speak, coughing through blood, mumbling something about needing to get somewhere, about being late, about his brother. She reached for her phone. I'm calling an ambulance, she told him. Before she could hit the button, headlights cut through the rain. 2 black cars pulled into the station fast. Too fast. Men stepped out, calm, controlled, armed without needing to show it. One of them went straight to the boy, kneeling beside him. Another gently but firmly took Elena's wrists, guiding her hands away from the wound. We've got him, the man said quietly. Not unkind, not negotiable. An older man approached last, taller, sharper. His eyes never left Elena. Ambulance is already on the way, he said. You did enough. She stared at him, rain plastering her scrubs to her skin. He's been shot. He will live, the man said, certainty in his voice. Because you stopped the bleeding. The boy was lifted carefully into one of the cars. Before the door closed, he looked back at her, Fear and relief tangled in his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. "Tell my brother." The door slammed shut. The older man turned to her then. Up close, his accent was faint, but unmistakable. "Korean. You should not have been there," he said. "But you stayed." She swallowed. "I'm a nurse." "Yes," he replied. "And he is my employer's younger brother." That was when she understood. Too late. This wasn't random violence. The boy hadn't been robbed. He hadn't been unlucky. He had been hunted. The man handed her a simple card. No name, no logo. Just a number. "If anyone asks about tonight, you saw nothing," he said. "And if you ever feel unsafe, if anyone approaches you, watches you, follows you, you call this number. Emergency only." She had nodded, still in shock, rainwater dripping from her hair. Later, she would learn that the boy had been attacked by a rival group, that the men who shot him were watching the gas station from a distance, that when they saw her kneeling beside him, hands bloody, refusing to leave, they assumed she was family, which made her a liability, which made her a target. Back in the present, her phone buzzed again. You were seen helping him. That is why the card was given. A low engine growl echoed outside her building. Her heart dropped. She crept toward the window, fingers shaking, and parted the blinds just enough to look. 4 motorcycles rolled into the parking lot. Black, no plates, headlights off. Her phone vibrated. "Do not look outside." She backed away, breath coming fast. A knock sounded at her door. Not loud, not violent. Controlled. Patient. "Ms. Moore," a male voice called calmly. "Please open the door." Her phone buzzed one last time. "Open the door. You are safer with us than without." She unlocked it. The man from the gas station stood there, unchanged, as if 6 months hadn't passed at all. Calm. Immaculate. Watching everything. "Elena Moore," he said softly. "My name is Jin Tae-ho." She couldn't speak. "I'm sorry to meet you like this," he continued, stepping inside. "But from this moment forward, your life requires intervention." She backed away. "I just helped him, that's all." "Yes," he said, and others noticed. He glanced around her apartment, eyes sharp. "You are not in trouble," he added, "but you are no longer invisible." Her chest tightened. "So what happens now?" He met her gaze, voice low. "Now," he said, "I make sure my brother's last mistake does not cost you your life." The door closed behind him, and Elena understood, with terrifying clarity, that the kindness that night had already decided everything. Elena did not sleep, not even when the apartment went quiet again, not when the distant engines faded, not when her phone stopped vibrating. She lay on top of the covers, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling as if it might crack open and give her an answer that made sense. Every few minutes, her mind replayed the same images. The boy's blood on her hands, the card, the motorcycles, Jin Tae-ho standing in her doorway like he had always belonged there. She flinched at every sound. At 5:07 a.m., her phone lit up. "Lucas. I'm downstairs." Her stomach tightened immediately. She sat up, heart pounding. Downstairs meant now. It meant this wasn't a threat that passed with the night. It meant the protection had already become routine. She showered quickly, hands trembling as water hit her skin. She checked the corners of the bathroom the way she had seen patients do after trauma, half expecting something to be watching her. When she stepped out, she noticed the bathroom vent looked slightly off, crooked, as if it had been touched. Her chest tightened, but she forced herself not to spiral. She dressed, grabbed her bag, and paused at the door. For a brief moment, she considered locking it and pretending none of this existed. Then her phone buzzed again. "Lucas. I can see your light. Take your time." Her breath caught. She opened the door. The hallway looked normal. Too normal. Lucas stood near the stairwell, tall, broad, quiet. He nodded once when he saw her, respectful, but unyielding. 2 other men lingered farther down the hall, pretending to scroll through their phones. "You don't have to do this," Elena said quietly. Lucas met her gaze. "You do." Outside, a black sedan waited at the curb. He opened the back door for her. She hesitated, then slid inside, the leather seat cool against her skin. As the car pulled away, she watched her apartment building shrink in the rearview mirror. She felt like she was leaving something behind she wouldn't get back. They drove in silence for several minutes before she spoke again. Were they really listening to me? Yes, Lucas said. For how long? At least 3 days. Maybe more. Her throat tightened. How did they? You were seen helping the boy, he said evenly. They assumed connection, family, or protection. Either way, they watched. Elena pressed her forehead against the window, fighting the urge to cry. I was just doing my job. I know. That made it worse. The hospital came into view, bright and familiar. For a moment, she felt relief. People, noise, rules, a place where things made sense. Lucas pulled to the curb. You'll work today. After that, you'll take leave. I can't just disappear, she said. They'll ask questions. They already are. She stiffened. What do you mean? Your routine changed last night, he said. That's always noticed. Inside, Elena felt it immediately. The looks, the pauses. A charge nurse asking if she was okay, too carefully. A resident glancing at her phone, then at Elena, then away. During her first round, her hands shook badly enough that another nurse noticed. You good? The woman asked. Elena forced a smile. Just tired. It wasn't a lie. It just wasn't the whole truth. At lunch, she went to her locker and froze. Her phone was gone. A note sat in its place. Locker 23. Leave it here. Her pulse spiked. She looked around. No one was watching her. Everyone was watching everything. She complied. The rest of the shift felt unreal. She missed a medication window, caught just in time. She forgot a patient's name. At one point, she felt dizzy enough to sit down in the supply room, head in her hands, breathing slowly until the room stopped spinning. When she returned to her locker at the end of the shift, her phone was back. A new contact had been added. JT. One message waited. You handled yourself well today. Anger flared sharp and sudden. She typed back before she could stop herself. You don't get to watch my life like this. The reply came a minute later. I don't want to. I have to. Lucas was waiting again when she exited the hospital. Take me home, she said. He didn't start the car. We can't. Her heart sank. Why? Because your apartment is no longer secure. Her voice broke. You said you handled it. We contained it, he corrected. That doesn't mean it's safe. They drove to a quiet office building instead. Inside, Jin Tae-ho waited in a private room, jacket off, sleeves rolled neatly, expression composed. You didn't tell me they were listening, Elena said the moment she saw him. I didn't want you panicked at work, he replied calmly. Someone heard me sleep, she said, tears burning her eyes. Someone heard me talk to my sister. Someone... He lifted a hand gently. Enough. That stopped her. You are not weak for reacting, he said, but panic will get you hurt. She laughed bitterly. Easy for you to say. This isn't your life. He met her gaze steadily. It is now tied to mine. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos. Elena walking into the hospital weeks ago. Elena at the grocery store. Elena sitting on her balcony late at night, hair wrapped, phone pressed to her ear. Her stomach churned. How long? Since the gas station, he said, intermittently. She stared at him in disbelief. You said you intervened. I did, he replied, more than once. He showed her another document, bank statements, her name, her student loans, paid. Her breath hitched. This isn't funny. It isn't meant to be. Her hands shook. Why would you do that? Because my brother trusted you, Jin said quietly, and because the men who hurt him noticed you. The room went silent. You are taking medical leave, he continued. 2 weeks. You will stay where we can protect you. I don't want your money, she whispered. You already accepted it, he said gently. Without knowing. Her phone buzzed on the table. An image appeared. Her apartment door. A white rose zip-tied to the handle. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Jin stood instantly. "We're moving now." Elena stared at the screen, dread sinking deep into her bones. "Where are you taking me?" He looked at her, something unreadable behind his eyes. "Somewhere quiet," he said, "and far enough that they hesitate." She swallowed hard. "And if I refuse?" His voice softened, just slightly. "You won't," he said. "Because you understand now." She did. And that understanding scared her more than anything else. The place they took Elena to didn't look like a prison. That unsettled her more than if it had. The house sat behind tall iron gates, tucked into a quiet stretch of land just outside the city. No guards in sight, no cameras obvious enough to scream danger. From the outside, it looked like a place people retired to, not disappeared into. Inside, everything was clean, controlled, intentional. Neutral colors, no personal photos, no clutter. A house designed to leave no trace of the people who passed through it. "This is temporary," Jin Tae-ho said, as she stood in the entryway, arms wrapped around herself. "Until the noise dies down." Elena looked at him. "And if it doesn't?" "Then we adjust." That answer didn't comfort her. Lucas showed her to a bedroom on the second floor. Comfortable. Too comfortable. Fresh clothes laid out on the bed. Her size. Neutral colors. Nothing loud. "How did you—" "We planned," Lucas said simply. The door closed behind him, leaving her alone. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her hands. They were steady now, which felt wrong. Like her body had already accepted something her mind was still fighting. Her phone buzzed. "JT. Come downstairs. We need to talk." She found Jin in the dining room, seated at the head of the table. Another man sat to his right. Younger, sharply dressed, eyes sharp behind thin-framed glasses. "This is Noah," Jin said. "He manages risk." Noah gave her a polite nod. "You're the risk," he said matter-of-factly. Elena stiffened. "Excuse me?" "Noah," Jin warned quietly. "I'm not insulting her," Noah said calmly. "I'm stating the equation. She is visible. Visibility attracts pressure." Elena crossed her arms. "Then let me leave." Noah looked at her. "You can't," Jin cut in. "Enough. She deserves to understand." He turned to Elena. "They believe you are connected to my family." "Because I helped your brother," she said. "Yes," he replied. "And because you were seen doing it." Noah slid a tablet across the table. On it were screenshots, grainy footage from the gas station, zoomed-in images of her kneeling beside the wounded boy. "They don't know who you are," Noah said. "So they'll test you." Elena's stomach dropped. "Test me how?" "By watching," Jin answered. "By asking questions. By seeing if you behave like someone who matters." She shook her head. "I don't belong in your world." "No," Jin said quietly. "But you are now adjacent to it." He leaned forward slightly. "Which is why we're giving them a story." Her chest tightened. "What kind of story?" "A simple one," he said. "You saved my life. Quietly. Privately. Before my brother was ever hurt." "That's a lie." "Yes." "I won't survive lying to criminals," she snapped. "You will," Noah said, "if you are consistent." Jin met her gaze. "You don't need to convince them you are important. You only need to convince them I believe you are." Silence filled the room. "So what?" she said finally, voice tight. "I just pretend?" "You don't pretend," Jin replied. "You remember." He stood and walked around the table, stopping a careful distance from her. "You were called to help," he continued. "You did. You didn't ask who I was. You didn't ask for payment. That is the truth." She swallowed. "And the rest?" "The rest is protection." Over the next 2 days, they rehearsed. Not dramatically, not theatrically, practically. Noah asked questions, over and over again. Same questions, different order. "Where did you meet him? Why were you there? Why did you help? What did he say after?" Elena answered until her throat was sore. "Shorter," Noah corrected. "Slower. No emotion there. Too much. Jin watched quietly from the corner, stepping in only when her hands began to shake. At night, Elena lay awake replaying every word, every expression, every way this could go wrong. On the third evening, Jin told her to change. "Where are we going?" she asked, fingers fumbling with the simple black dress laid out on the bed. "Dinner," he said. Her heart jumped. "Public?" "Yes." She froze. "Already?" "They're waiting," he replied calmly. The restaurant was discreet. Private room, low lighting, the kind of place where no one asked names. Two men were already seated when they entered. One older, composed, the other younger, with cold eyes and an amused smile. "This is Victor," Jin said evenly. "And Dmitri." Victor stood, taking Elena's hand lightly. "So you're the nurse?" Her pulse spiked. "Yes," she said, keeping her voice steady. Dmitri smiled thinly. Funny how kindness travels. They sat. Conversation flowed like a trap disguised as courtesy. Victor asked about her work, her family, where she grew up, Louisiana, her mother, nursing school. Elena answered carefully, grounding herself in truth where she could. "And Jin," Victor said casually, turning to him. "Canceling the port deal was unexpected." Jin didn't blink. "Necessary." Victor's gaze slid back to Elena. "You must be very special." The room went quiet. Elena felt the weight of it pressing down on her chest. Before she could respond, Jin spoke. "She doesn't need to be special," he said calmly. "She needs to be untouched." Victor smiled, but his eyes hardened. $50 million is a high price for untouched. Jin met his gaze. "Not to me." Elena's breath caught. Dmitri chuckled softly. "You see, that's what worries us. Attachments." Jin leaned back, relaxed. "Then don't test them." Silence stretched, heavy and dangerous. Finally, Victor stood. "Enjoy your dinner." When they were gone, Elena exhaled shakily. "I almost messed up," she whispered. Jin looked at her. "You didn't." She stared at him. "You really canceled it. For me." He didn't answer right away. "When I fail to protect," he said finally, "people die." Her chest tightened. "Your brother." "Yes." She understood then. This wasn't obsession. It was debt. And she was standing in the middle of it. The car ride back from the restaurant was silent, but it wasn't calm. Elena could feel it in the way Lucas drove. Slightly faster than before, eyes checking mirrors more often. Jin sat beside her in the back seat, posture composed, but something in his stillness felt coiled, like a decision had already been made and was waiting to be carried out. Her phone vibrated once. Jin looked at the screen before she could. His jaw tightened. "Not here," he said to Lucas. "Take the long way." Elena's pulse spiked. "What is it?" Jin didn't answer immediately. He typed a short response, then turned the phone face down in his palm. "They moved sooner than expected," he said calmly. Too calmly. "That doesn't sound good." "It isn't." The car changed direction. Streetlights thinned. The city gave way to darker roads, quieter stretches. Elena hugged herself, trying to slow her breathing. "You said the dinner was enough," she said. "You said they wouldn't push." "I said they would hesitate," Jin corrected. "They did. Briefly." Her voice trembled. "So what now?" "Now," he said, "I tell you everything." The house they stopped at was different from the first. Smaller, more isolated. No gates this time, just distance. Inside, the lights were low, warm. It felt less like a facility and more like somewhere someone might actually live. Lucas stayed by the door. Jin led Elena into the living room and motioned for her to sit. She didn't. "You owe me the truth," she said quietly. "All of it." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "You're right." He sat across from her, elbows resting lightly on his knees. "My brother's name was Minjae," he said. "He was younger than me by 8 years, too young to be where he was that night." Elena's chest tightened. "He wasn't supposed to be involved," Jin continued. "He wanted out. He called me after the ambush, but I was in a meeting I couldn't leave, I sent men. I thought they would reach him in time. His voice faltered for the first time since she'd met him. They didn't. Elena swallowed hard. He was trying to get to you. Yes. And I... Her voice broke. I was just there. You were more than that, Jin said softly. You didn't see a criminal. You saw a boy bleeding in the rain. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't save him. You gave him a chance, he replied. And you gave him dignity. That matters. She looked away, wiping her cheeks. So this, everything, you protecting me, it's because you couldn't protect him. Yes, he said without hesitation. At first. She turned back to him. At first? He met her gaze, something raw and unguarded in his eyes now. Then I watched you, he admitted. Not the way my enemies did. I watched how you lived, how you kept showing up for people who would never protect you the way you protect them. Her heart thudded painfully. That doesn't make this fair. No, he agreed, but it made it impossible to ignore. Her phone buzzed on the table between them. Jin didn't stop her this time. She picked it up. A photo loaded. Her old apartment door again. But this time, the white rose wasn't alone. It was crushed, pinned. Beneath it was a strip of tape with 2 words written in black marker. Last warning. Elena's hands shook. They're not stopping. No, Jin said. They're escalating. What does that mean for me? He didn't soften the answer. It means leaving is no longer safe. Silence fell heavy between them. Elena sank onto the couch, the weight of it all pressing down on her chest. So I just stay hidden forever? Jin stood and walked toward the window, staring out into the darkness. I can give you safety, resources, time. And freedom? She asked. He turned back to her slowly. Not yet. She laughed weakly. You're asking me to trust you with my life. I'm offering you the truth, he said. And my word. She stood, closing the distance between them before she could think better of it. Look at me, she said. He did. You don't get to protect me because you feel guilty, she said quietly. I won't be someone you cage to punish yourself. Something shifted in his expression. Pain, respect, relief. You're right, he said. That isn't enough. Then why? She pressed. He hesitated, then spoke carefully. Because somewhere along the way, my obligation became personal. Her breath caught. I don't expect you to feel the same, he added quickly. I wouldn't ask that of you, but I would be lying if I said my choices no longer consider you first. The room felt smaller, warmer, charged with something neither of them had named until now. Elena searched his face, looking for manipulation, possession, control. She found none, only restraint. She exhaled slowly. You don't own me. No, he said. I don't. But if I stay, she continued, voice steady despite the fear clawing inside her, it's because I choose to, not because I'm trapped. He nodded once. Agreed. She hesitated, then reached out, fingers brushing his sleeve. The contact was light, almost accidental, but it sent a visible jolt through him. This doesn't mean I forgive everything, she said softly. I wouldn't deserve it if you did, he replied. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world outside, the threats, the watchers, the danger, fell away. Jin lifted his hand slowly, giving her time to pull back. She didn't. His fingers brushed her cheek, gentle, reverent, like he was afraid of crossing a line. It wasn't a kiss. It didn't need to be. It was a promise, without words. Later that night, as the house settled into quiet, Elena stood by the window, watching the darkness beyond the trees. Jin joined her, not touching this time, but close enough that she could feel his warmth. I'll stay, she said finally. For now. He didn't smile. He simply nodded. That's enough, he said. She looked at him, heart heavy but steady. For the first time since the gas station, since the text. Since the knock at her door, Elena felt something she hadn't expected. Not safety, but certainty. And sometimes, that was stronger. Besties, if you enjoyed this story and want more intense, emotional, and unforgettable narratives like this one, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps us keep building this community, one powerful story at a time.